after I heard Jerome say that last night, I don't trust him anymore. I don't trust him anymore. And I went back and looked at the Clear and Present Danger episode from last year. It's about 2.5-hour episode with Jason and I and Trish. And I was having a lot of trouble with the phone. But if you don't remember, I go to this small town in West Virginia. I interview this guy named Deep Uranium. I met him been talking to him for about a month before that. And he's saying, hey, I did not know he was an FBI informant at the time. I did not know that he put people in jail trying to get them to build bombs. I had no idea of that background. He didn't tell me anything about that. But what he did say is he had this group of 6 people that had all spent over 20 years apiece in some form of homeland security. And he had told me that he'd said over a period of a month that this Maersk line was being used to ship uranium tails, if you will. Tails are when you're done refining or when you're done using a nuclear rod, you have these depleted uranium leftovers, and they could be fashioned. They're supposed to be disposed of because they have this alpha particle problem, but they were fashioning them into weapons, and they were being sold potentially out of South Carolina, is the way I remember it, Citadel in South Carolina, but it could be someplace else. But the idea was that Pakistani ordnance factory, I had no idea where the Pakistani ordnance factory was before that, which is in the north part of where Imran Awan is from, was using these tails. And also this, if you just had some of this material, it could be dangerous when shipping it. So that's the basic bottom line. Well, I had put that information together with other information about a terrorist group in the Kashmir part of where this Pakistani ordnance factory is. This is Ibrahim is an international drug dealer, and he did do 2 bombings. He did a bombing, I think, in '93 in Mumbai because the people in Mumbai, India didn't want to ship his stuff. He was a criminal. He did another one in 2008 where he killed a whole bunch of people, 145 people at the hotel there, a horrible attack. This LET group was the group, and I can't remember what it stands for, but it's LET, depleted uranium ammo, all the way up to, including ship shells that that a Cruz and Associates would provide, right? All the way up to like what the USS New York would fire, right? So anyway, that was the corroborating evidence, and Imran Awan was sending these terabytes to Pakistan, and all these servers had gone missing, and all these Blackberries that typically are involved in this kind of illegal trade had been destroyed. So I was putting this all together, this mosaic together, and I did not know that Jerome Corsi wrote a book about in 2006, and I don't know if it's Unfit for Command or what the book is for Kerry. I'm guessing it was for Kerry, but there was a situation where he had talked about hypothetical situation where Iran takes their uranium tails, I believe, and creates a dirty bomb out of it and sends it to the port of New York. Okay, so I didn't realize that this was life. I didn't realize he had written a book about this. I didn't realize this was life following fiction or not. But I'm in Ohio. I meet with a guy for 3 hours. He says he has all this group. He says, hey, you know everything I've been telling you about the Memphis Maersk? There was proof that the Maersk had a whole bunch of uranium on it. These ships were being abandoned on the beach in Bangladesh. He was saying the kids were getting sick from sawing all these things up because it was so fouled with radioactivity. These people were dying. So there was a lot of evidence up until that point. So I had no idea up until the point I met him that there even was a Memphis Maersk ship, and I had no idea where in the world it was. The only thing we had talked about was Ibrahim, Pakistani ordnance factory, using these tails from possibly Iran or North Korea or wherever they were getting them from to make ammunition and weapons out of it, and also potentially a dirty bomb. Now, I was aware that Brian Ross from ABC News actually shipped 15 pounds of depleted uranium from Austria all the way across Europe through a train ride, kind of like recapitulating the Orient Express, all the way through Iran, all these different terrorist countries, like 15 countries over a 2-week trip. And then finally they put it on a boat in Jakarta, and they shipped 15 pounds of depleted uranium, enough to be obvious through an X-ray scanner with this pipe bomb type configuration. And he sent it all the way through, and nobody stopped it. And I can't remember which American port it went to, but I believe it went to the port of New York. They wanted to arrest him for doing that, right? But he proved the point that, hey, all the scanner technology that we say we have, and it went under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, Marcus Conte, just so you know, in that example, it went under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. So you might want to check out Brian Ross. He's a reporter on ABC, 2003. So we had a lot going there. And then, of course, Lindsey Graham came out and said that he thought ISIS would attack the port of Charleston or the port of New York in 2013 if we didn't join in their fight to overthrow Syria. So this wasn't an idea that I'd come up about myself, and the FBI informant planted the idea inside me, right, or in my head after 3 hours of talking to me. So when I got to the phone call, I started talking about my brother and saying how I used my grandmother's maiden name as the last name. He used my mom's maiden name, and that's why the names were different. All these questions about, you know, the veracity of George Webb, right? I thought, this is weird. There's kind of a lot of, you know, third degree here. I thought we were going to talk about the informant. That day also, Steve Scalise had been shot. And then there was another House representative, I think, that had been shot, which was Weintraub, which was in the 2nd District of Ohio. He had said that there was a lot of sex trafficking going on in D.C. So bottom line is about 1:38 into this, Jason keeps using these intensifiers. This is there's a dirty bomb threat in the port of Charleston, right? He's saying this, and it's going to be bigger than 9/11. I'm like, no, I don't know if this is true or not. I say it at 1:38 if you want to check it. I don't know if it's true. And he asked me, what should the hashtag be? So it's like, I didn't even thought of going on Twitter at that point. I said, well, clear and present danger. That's the name of the show. You should use the hashtag in the name of the show, clear and present danger. He goes, well, that doesn't tell people about the threat. Well, it's not a threat yet. We don't know if it's a threat yet, right? He goes, well, something about the Memphis Maersk. I said, okay, Memphis Maersk. And then he says, dirty bomb? Yeah, dirty bomb. Okay, Memphis Maersk, dirty bomb. Okay. That doesn't say any port. That just says, look into the Memphis Maersk shipping this stuff. Well, then he immediately, as soon as he gets the hashtag, he immediately calls Dr. Corsi of all people. Now, I know we had just met Dr. Corsi, but it seemed very odd to immediately call out, like phone a friend. Now, maybe that's who he calls. That's who Jason calls when he needs to phone a friend about national intelligence matters. That's fine. And then, of course, he comes back and says, there's no threat. Well, I drop off the show after that point. There was, but then the hashtag gets changed into Dirty Bomb Port of Charleston, which is much more serious. If you live in Charleston and you see a hashtag that says Dirty Bomb Port of Charleston, Memphis Maersk would require you to look up and say, what is a Maersk? If you weren't familiar with shipping. What is a Memphis? If you weren't familiar with the Maersk fleet, right? Then what is a dirty bomb, right? So you would go through a whole bunch of very quiet, consultative Google searches to find out what is Maersk, what is a dirty bomb. Then you would have to go to the next step, which is find out where the Maersk was, which I did not know where the Maersk was. Somebody said that on the show. And then you could then call the Coast Guard, right? So I thought maybe I'm getting set up. And last night, all the histrionics and the panegyrics around the Corsi testimony reminded me of the same thing. It went right back to that almost exhibitionist. I hate to say it, kind of an exhibitionist. And then also kind of the e-bagging thing as well. I'll tell you what, Jerome Corsi lives in a very big house. It's a multi-million-dollar house, and it's in a very nice neighborhood. And I've sued the largest law firms in the world here in DC, and you know where I'm staying, right? Same hotel that Jenny Moore was expired in, right? So I'm not living it up, let me tell you. So it just smacked. I just had this visceral reaction of, hey, this is another one of the Jerome Corsi things. And now, after he said he lied 3 times to Congress, I said, maybe he lied to me. Maybe he was setting me up. And I got thrown out because I didn't go along with their plan. Now one of my heroes, really, up until last night, is gone away in my heart, and I feel horrible about that. But that's the truth. So I'm disassociating myself with Jerome Corsi in any way. I think they have the InfoWars game a little bit too cute. They're a little too cute by half about how they're doing this. I know people have been saying, don't you realize they set you up a year and a half ago? And I have been resisting until I saw the 3 lies last night to Congress. And I said, that's it. So I just wanted to take care of that and just say, Dr. Corsi and I, no more. No, we're disassociated. And I think we can learn a lot by this, because when you start relying on informants that lie, you're paid to lie, and that's okay, then everything they say, the whole crew should be thrown out. The special prosecutor should throw out Corsi. They should throw out Manafort. They should throw out Cohen. He's been an informant. They should throw out Sater. They should throw out Roger Stone. Throw them all out, because they've now stated publicly that it's okay to lie, right? It's okay as long as you're trying to say BP is beyond petroleum. That's just spin. Well, it's not spin, it's lies, right? And that's not right. So that's it with Dr. Corsi. But the flip side here is it supports what I said yesterday, which is the fact that it is masking something else, which is a lot of people told me last night. I had somebody come on and say, Trevor Fitzgibbon never worked for Snowden. Margaret Ratner never represented Bradley Manning or Anonymous. So I just printed one paragraph in their own description saying that they did that. Khashoggi, Amal, I think her name is Alamadin. So it's Amal Alamadin, but she's a niece of Jamal Khashoggi and also Adnan Khashoggi. She wasn't the lawyer for WikiLeaks. So I put out a picture in October of 2016, right? That they were, the picture was from 2011, but she was a lawyer up until October of 2016 for Julian Assange. They put out a